What's up, my fellow scruffy looking nerf herders, and welcome to the Carbonite chat. I'm posting a second video that's kind of almost a response to my video I posted a few hours ago. I was commenting and responding to some people, and I felt like this needed to be added to the video. The video was discussing the issues with Disney and how they're kind of treating the fans, and I discussed why, it's just, how they're acting towards the fan is just not right. And I wanted to kind of add this to it, as I feel like this is very important to kind of understand, and this is one of the things that's missed. A lot of people are discussing and talking about The Last Jedi being so divisive, and that's just how Star Wars fans are. They're never going to be happy with anything. And I think that's I think that's really missing a huge part of what Star Wars is. Star Wars has always been about family and about love, and not just in the storytelling, but as a whole fan base, like as the fan base as a whole. It's the love of Star Wars that has always kept us so strong and so close, and always so connected to whatever happens in Star Wars, whatever's put out, whatever's going on. There's a reason Force Awakens broke so many records when it first came out. And that's following right after the prequels, which largely were disliked. It was liked at the time, but after a few years, it wasn't liked very much, which is ultimately why George Lucas ended up selling Lucasfilm, is because he didn't like he couldn't handle the frustration that the fans had because they weren't happy with what happened with the prequels. But in the end, they all showed up for Force Awakens. They were all so excited to see what was coming next. The fans all jumped along and enjoyed and went along for the ride of Clone Wars, even though the beginning was kind of rough and they didn't really have their footing on how to do the show until midway to the second season, and possibly even into the third season. The fans have always stuck with Star Wars, and this hasn't been the case with any other franchise. Now, there's been some franchises that have gotten along for a small period of time, but that's only a small period of time. People may talk about the Marvel films now, but how many times prior to this did they try to do Marvel films and nothing come from it? And if you go into something along the lines with the DC films, for a period of time the Batman films were great. You can go all the way back to the 60s, when it was a television show that was a little odd and quirky for how we view Batman nowadays, but it was very beloved. And then it had a period off, and then Michael Keaton brought it back, and it was very well respected. And then it had a few rough years, and it dropped down, and then it returned with the Nolan one, but now it's back down again. See, it fluctuates up and down with the quality of the films, but with Star Wars, there's always been something different. And I think what's missing here, and kind of what I was talking about with the Disney issue in my prior video, is it's a lack of love for the story. It's a lack of love for the fans. It's a lack of understanding that we are all in this together. We're all a part of the family that makes up Star Wars. See, everyone has people in their family, the close ones, that they'll love to the end, but they may fight with at times. They may disagree with things that they say or do, but they'll always love them and support them. And this is what Star Wars has always been. And now that it's not, now that Disney is trying to eat its own, that they're trying to tear apart the fan base and give no respect. If you don't like it, then you dislike women. If you don't like it, then you're just a biased, sexist, and racist. Now, this just doesn't hold up. You have the arguments, like I mentioned before, where they talk about Rotten Tomatoes, even though Rotten Tomatoes has said that the numbers weren't fudged, that nobody messed with them. And then they say, oh, but the alt-right people, they took credit for saying that they did it, even though they said they were going to do the same thing to Black Panther, but yet Black Panther's at 79%. And you have The Last Jedi at 48%. So how were they so successful with The Last Jedi, which was largely a film full of white characters, Yet they failed so terribly with the Black Panther, a movie where all but two characters were black. If that was truly what they were doing, then they failed. So why did they supposedly succeed so much with The Last Jedi? Now, I don't want to get too much into that because this isn't what this video is about, but it was brought up in the comments, and I am going to discuss it in another video later. But I wanted to bring that up here and point out that the problem is that the fans weren't happy, but here's how it was reacted. We've been called names, we've been chastised, we've been told that, you know, it's time to forget about the old fans and move on to the new fans. I mean, is this what family or love is really about? And that's what Star Wars has been about up until now, and that's why the fan base is ready to flee. You go to the prequels and they were largely disliked and despised, and I hated them, but I was always still a Star Wars fan. Why? Because even though I did not like them, and even though I thought, yeah, the overall outline was pretty good, and there was some good ideas, and the overall story worked out kind of well, it just kind of got, you know, convoluted in the middle. George got focused on different things, but there was a love and care taken in putting these films together. You could sense it in every little minute thing. Even if you didn't agree with what he did, you knew George loved this story. He loved these movies. He poured his heart and soul into them. So even if you dislike the decisions made, you still love the movies. You still love the franchise. And then you go into Clone Wars and Rebels. Now, most people, the one thing that they do still love with the Star Wars franchise since Disney purchased it is Rebels. Dave Filoni is a creator that has said he doesn't care what it is, just let him tell a story and he will be happy. TV, animated movie, whatever, I don't care, just I want to make stories. He loves Star Wars and he wants to tell stories in that. And in those, that love, that care, it keeps the people there. Myself, and I've talked with many other people as well, Rebels is on Disney HD and it's much more set for a younger audience. Clone Wars kind of played a little more towards the adult side than Rebels has, but it's always felt like Star Wars. And everyone always tries to connect this and say that there's some secret ingredient. It's the characters, it's the style of storytelling, it's the locations, but I think it ultimately comes down to it's the creators that are behind it. It's their love for it, and we can sense that and we can feel that. It's the reason why all of the Legends novels are so beloved. The old expanded universe that has now been cast out, which started the first bad taste with the fans, and Disney has never really recuperated that trust. See, these fans, they didn't do it for millions of dollars like the directors and writers now have. They didn't do it because they were trying to make back $4 billion from a purchase. They're not making these decisions based off of money. They're making them because they love the story of Star Wars. And they just have to tell a story for themselves. Now, not all of them were great, and not everyone loves every book. But man, the outcry when they decided to remove it was loud and clear. We don't want that because there were so many beautiful stories and they were all told out of love. And even if it may not be the favorite part of the story to you, you appreciate the care, the love that went into it. And that's what has always made Star Wars special. I think that's what separates it from Marvel, among many other things. But Marvel, the basis of the characters and stuff were all largely created by Stan Lee. But over the years, prior to the movies being released, the comics were all written by so many different authors. There were so many different artists working on them. And over time, there wasn't one kind of consistent solid creator that was so entrenched in this one story. See, even Stan Lee created so many different characters and so many different storylines, while George had one. Now I know he did some other movies, but what do we really know of him? And yes, the Indiana Jones movies that he did with Steven Spielberg, but for the most part, this is his thing. This is the thing he focused so much on. This is the thing he put his life into. He trained up Dave Filoni in. I think that's what makes Star Wars so special, and I think that's the thing that we're beginning to miss with all this discussion of Disney this and Disney that. And I am one for sure to go at Disney, and I'm not calling for a let's back off Disney, because they are definitely in the wrong. But as the fans, if I can reach any of the fans, it's to say this is what we're missing. I kind of made some comments in the prior video about, like, imagine if you were on the other side. What if you didn't like The Last Jedi? How would you feel with someone talking to you or acting like your opinion is so awful or just deserves zero respect? Or that you're to be called a whole litany of awful names because of that? Is this what Star Wars was meant to be? Star Wars is about hope. It's about love. It's about family. And that's just not here anymore. Now it's nihilistic. Now it's family is nothing. Now we don't need a last name. Who cares who Rey is? Now I know this is minor little points, and ultimately that's not the full expression of everything that's kind of going on in Star Wars, but it's just a small example to show that even the main character at this point, and they could change that in episode 9, and don't focus too much on those one little things that I said there, but as a whole for what this video I'm trying to express, and I'm hoping I express it properly. I wanted to kind of put this out while it was on my mind. I think it's important with connection to the video I did before, and you know, with my dislike for The Last Jedi, a lot of my videos have been a kind of a frustration and hurt feeling for what happened with The Last Jedi. And while I was feeling this, I wanted to express this and kind of remind myself and possibly others of what Star Wars was and what it means and why it is special. And maybe something like this, a little video like this, can end up mattering in some way to someone, or even on a grander scale. I don't know. But I wanted to get those feelings out. I wanted to say this before I forgot it while it was on my mind. And especially with the video I posted a little bit earlier. I'll post that video there if you haven't seen it, and I'll post some other videos as well. But most importantly, I look forward to talking to you down below in the comments. Thank you as always for watching, and never forget, you Nerf herders, I love you.